Hello, everybody, and welcome to Perek Lamed Vav. That's chapter 36 of the book of Shemot. In Perek Lamed Vav, chapter 36, we learn in Parashat Vayakel about how the Bnei Yisrael began making the materials of the Mishkan. That's right. In this Perek, three important parts of the Mishkan were made. The krashim, the beams that were the actual structure, the building of the Mishkan, the parochet, the curtains, and the masach, the entryway curtains, the entryway doors of the Mishkan. So let's give a look at each of them. First of all, at the beginning of this chapter, we have Moshe announcing that no more materials are needed. And then the Torah begins to describe how the curtains were made, the screens, the pillars, the poles, and the outer screen. If you recall, the Mishkan had special pillars. They were called the krashim. These krashim, they looked like this. We'll zoom in a little bit over here to give a look. There were two types of beams in the Mishkan. There were the beams of the actual sanctuary structure. So the beams in question, called the krashim, were the beams that were made, that the structure, the building of the Mishkan, the actual building that had a roof over it, was made of. Now, these were wood, made of atzei shitim, acacia wood, coated with gold. In the bottom, they had these two plug-like protrusions that went into silver sockets. Okay, and on the top there were notches cut, two notches on top of each one, and a silver band went and was placed, attaching each of those notches together so that the krashim would be firmly attached like a wall. For extra stability, there was a bar going. It's called the breach hatichon, a bar going from one side to the other, and then on the outsides there was another bar fastened on, making those walls very, very sturdy. So it was fitted together sort of like a complicated little Lego puzzle there, but they were very big and heavy, so it's not like a little project, okay? Then, of course, we learn about the curtains. The curtains of the Mishkan were very, very special. The curtains, we had the bottom layer of the curtains were woven from several different materials together. It was woven in sheets of 4 amot, 4, 4, 4, and 4 attached. That's 4 wide, and in the middle there were special hooks, copper hooks, that were attaching these sheets together. And then there was another set of 5 curtains on the other side as well. And as we said, that was the bottom. There were lions and eagles woven into it in an amazing way. Then there was, on top of that, there was a black dyed goat hair curtain. Then there was a red ram skin on the top of that, also in panels with slightly different numbers. And on the top of that, there was the famous tachash skin, the skin of an animal that had multicolored skin. The outer courtyard was white curtains that were actually woven like a net, so the wind could blow through them, so that it wouldn't blow in the Mishkan. And there was also poles that hung up those nets that covered the whole courtyard. Those poles were actually wood, and had silver bands. They didn't look exactly like the beams of the Mishkan. At the bottom didn't have that plug. They had silver bands around several parts. On the top there was actually silver knobs with a pole going through, and there were also special hooks that were attached to these poles to hang the white curtains of the courtyard. So again, not a very great drawing, but you had a big outer courtyard, then you had a building in the middle So these beams over here were from the building. These beams were all around the courtyard entrance, and the white screen was around the courtyard, and these beams were over here, covered by these special tapestries, and the door screens, again with lions and eagles, were one in front of this door, one between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKodashim, and one was a little bit in the front, so that there was a room to go through, like so. You would come around the door and enter inside. There was a gap inside the wall. Okay, and that is a story. What is that? It's me, Sparky the Match. Sparky the Match here to tell you about Perek Lamed Vav, chapter 36, silly story version. So Perek Lamed Vav, chapter 36 is chapter match. Why so, Sparky? Well, you see, the M is really a 3 flipped on its side, and the Ch, as we know from our silly code system, that the Ch is really the number 6. 6, how does that work? Right, because 6 is looking in script like a J, backwards, you could imagine it, a J. So anything that makes the similar sound of J, Ch, or Sh represents the backward 6. Okay, so match is 6. Yes, that is correct. Okay, Sparky, what do you have to tell us? How does a match remind us of this story? Well, very simple. In chapter 36, Moses got ready to set up the Mishkan. First, he ran out of acacia wood, so they put matches together, and they multiplied the matches, and then they covered them with gold. What? That is ridiculous. Yes, that's right. And they had matches on the Mishkan, lots of matches, and then they had to weave all the materials together. So they didn't have knitting needles in those days, so they took 2 matches together with red tips, and they knitted together until beautiful fabric came out, and a nice curtain as they were knitting the Mishkan with matchsticks. And they were very careful not to strike the matches to burn down the curtains. Sparky, that's the most ridiculous story that you've ever told us. What are you talking about? That's right. And so they finished the Mishkan, and they had a Mishkan built all of matchsticks, and it was so beautiful. All the Jewish people cheered, thank God for the match Mishkan. And we had walls of the Mishkan, and it was really a sight to see. That's right, and the Mishkan was all completed, made out of matchsticks, and thank God it didn't catch on fire, and the Jewish people had a beautiful Mishkan. Well, thank you very much, Sparky, for that ridiculous story. But remember, in Perek Lamed Vav, the chapter 36, the Jewish people built the beams of the Mishkan made of acacia wood and gold, not matches, and they wove the beautiful curtains, probably with knitting needles, not with matchsticks, and they made these beautiful parts, just as Moshe had commanded from Hashem. Thank you for watching.